Not many people know this, but there is an envelope follower built into Alchemy that you can use within Alchemy itself, or you can also use an external source from Logic Pro as a source for the envelope follower. All right, so let's see how this can be used. I'm going to initialize this preset. I'm going to go into the global here and just disable this modulation. All right, now in source A, let's go into A here. I'm going to swap this out with a drum loop. So I'm in the Alchemy samples here. There's a loops folder. Inside the loops folder, there's drum loops. You can use whatever drum loop you want. I'm going to pick one of these. All right, let's say that one. I'm going to load the sampler version because I'm not really going to do much processing. We're just going to use the sample as is. All right, so right now the pitch is changing depending on which key I press on the keyboard. I'm going to disable that. So no matter what key I press, we get the sample to play back as is. All right, cool. Now let's talk about the envelope follower. You can see here in the modulation section, this is the envelope follower. By default, the envelope follower is listening to the master output. I'm going to set it to source A. So it's going to listen to this drum loop and generate an envelope. All right, we're going to use this to modulate a synth signal. So let's say in B, we'll turn on the sawtooth oscillator, and let's turn on the filter here, and maybe we can modulate the filter cutoff. I'll right click here, add modulation, and under envelope follower, select that first one. All right, so now if I play some notes, you're not hearing it yet because I haven't increased the depth for the modulation. Let's bring the filter cutoff down further so we can hear it even more. Now we can further finesse the envelope itself, but the biggest issue here is I don't really want to hear the loop. I just want the effect of it, the modulation signal to be used, but I don't want to actually hear the signal. Now if I bring down the volume of the drum loop, or the source A here, we just lose our signal. So that's not going to work. The volume needs to be up because Alchemy needs to hear the output to generate this. We can go into global here and figure out something. So we do have routing options here. The sources are sent to filter 1 or filter 2. Let's leave this at filter 1 and let's send the sawtooth generator, source B here, to filter 2. All right, so filter 1 is this one here. What if I filter out everything? So now we've completely filtered out source A, and source B, which is the sawtooth generator, is going through filter 2, and nothing's on right now, so we're just hearing it as is. Alright, another thing I want to do is go into A here, hit edit, and turn on loop mode, continuous loop. So when I'm holding down a note, it'll just loop through when it reaches the end over here. Alright, we don't have to see that, you can trust me that'll work. Alright, so that's basically it. So now we have modulation on the filter cutoff that's following the envelope. We can tweak the settings here, bring the attack down to make it more staccato, bring the decay down, get more detail in the movement there. There's a scaling option here to tone down the overall envelope or increase it. It's kind of like depth. Alright, so that's basically it. Now let's say you want to do this envelope modulation, but you don't want to set up a separate source in here like I did. So let's turn this off. Let's use an external source. So in that same envelope follower, instead of source A, I can set this to a sidechain. And the sidechain source is here. Alright, so in Logic, I'm just going to load in a loop. I'm going to go into instruments here, set it to all drums, and let's pick maybe a vintage breakbeat. Pick one of these here. Alright, let's go with this slower pattern. I'll just drag this into a track here. We'll loop this section. I'm actually going to speed up the tempo. Alright, so now back in Alchemy, we'll set the sidechain to that audio track. So now it will listen to it when I hit play. The envelope follower is set to sidechain mode, so it should be listening to it. We're not seeing any activity yet because I do need to play a note. So I'm going to play a note. And we can already see the modulation work. It's all still set up. Now let's say you don't want to hear the drums. In this case, we actually can bring the volume down because the sidechain connection is internal, so it'll still work. So there you have it, using the envelope follower in Alchemy.